day one. It'll go good. Look at the weather, it's beautiful.
Well, Bill rang me up one day and said, he was thinking about having a 500 fly in. I thought, well, that's a great idea, and asked me would I help him put it together.
Even up until about 2 weeks before the event, we still had people wanting to be part of it. It was a way to give something back to these people that have been part of a very special segment of the industry. You know, helicopter industry in New Zealand is quite big. In part of that, you've got the 500 community.
What's it like to have to command all these guys and girls coming in all at once?
It's organised chaos, but no, we've got good procedures in place, so it's all working really, really well.
Are they behaving themselves and listening to you?
Yeah, they are, surprisingly, but yes, they are.
I think per head of capita there's the most 500s operating in the world here, and this is the most 500s been assembled in one place at one time for a world record. A couple of them passed comment last night, the only time we catch up is at a funeral.
The only time we ever meet as an industry is when someone dies. We go there, you know, let's have a beer and celebrate X person. And sometimes you just say, you know what, shit, why don't we actually get together for the hell of it? I don't know how many, would probably be close to 100 that have actually given their lives to this industry. Shooters, helicopter pilots in the venison days, I won't say they were a dime a dozen, but we were losing them as though they were.
You know, the nice thing about the 500, you think about where you want to go and you can go there.
You know, most helicopters, if you want to climb, say, 17,000 feet, 500, you just point it up there and you go.
It's just an extension of you, where everything else you sit on and fly. These you sit in and you're part of it.
They're a bit of a drug, really, a 500. You know, you can hear them coming a mile away, and they're great for in the hills and that sort of thing. Very, very safe helicopters.
You can have two people standing on the skids on one side and you've still got control. It's a very stable machine.
They're the only one that'll carry more than its own weight.
It seems to be the common thread that they're like a sports car. And
yeah, it's the Ferrari of helicopters, you know. As you get a bit older, you probably want to get out after you've had a go in it, but and then you might hop in a Squirrel because it's nice and it's like a sedan, but the 500 you always want to get back in that sports car.
And they hadn't worked hard until they got to New Zealand, and then the old Kiwis used to work them pretty hard in the venison era and that sort of thing.
They came late HC. We didn't bring the one into here till 72, I think it was.
Is the Red Deer, whose range include these mountain slopes. The man who's leading and coordinating the capture operation is Tim Wallace.
Myself and Robert Wilson from Wanaka realised that deer were saleable in Europe, so we got them together and sold them. And that's why you see so many 500 ears today.
Outside of the United States, New Zealand's the second biggest market for MD helicopters.
Yeah, over the years we bought a lot of 500s into New Zealand and to a few other countries. Bought them out of Venezuela and ferried through Panama back to the States and things like that. And I bought 5 of them out of Japan a while ago. Most of them are here in New Zealand still. I think there's 2 of them here somewhere. Yeah. They're a symbol of, well, especially of the venison era in New Zealand, the 500s are.
But we had in New Zealand here, bringing the first helicopter in, we ran into problems. It had the C-18 engine in it. We had engine problems and they had to take the engine out. And when we got it back, it had a whole new section that they just developed in it. And that took care of that.
They had compressor problems on it, and they ironed it out pretty quickly, and it's a good motor now.
So New Zealand has 22 units in that helicopter right now that they didn't have when they made it. So New Zealand was a big part of that, and having the proper engineers.
The quality of the machinery these days probably shouldn't say, but compared to in the 80s and in the Deer days, the quality of the machinery is definitely improved.
New Zealand has done a lot on these, and because they use them. So if there's a problem, we find, hey, there's a problem there. You know, like the doors, we always found a problem with the doors. and that was cured, not by the factory, but it was cured off-site. And I think that was a Canadian group, or one Canadian guy came up with different door latches. So, so that took care of that. There was operators outside the factory developed an awful lot towards that helicopter. And where I would like to have seen the factory, be ahead of us and come up with something better. But we came up with the things better and then sent it to the factory and said, do this.
The rear windows above the passenger side, when they first come in use, they used to pop out. Mel and them sent the mods back, but they never ever changed the manual. And to today, in a D model and a C model, you're not allowed to fly with the front doors. So, good God, have a look at all the photos and the videos of the old days, the modern days, with no front doors on. But we didn't lose any windows, never.
That's just slackness on the, whatever happened with the...
Yeah, it just wasn't passed on. And but to do it now, to get a manual change, oh my God, it ain't going to happen.
I just hope the factory now, with this new management, will get in there and let's make this a better machine even.
A special thanks to Mel and Barb to get back to New Zealand. As you know, Mel was the first one to put 500 into New Zealand.
That first one we brought in, it was $92,000 or $9,200,000, and so it wasn't $1 million. Now that helicopter is $3 million. But it took a while for that engine, or for that aircraft to be really popular. But once it was and people saw what it could do, then look at you right now. You have more of those than any country in the world. Oh, Kiwi has a big voice in aviation, a real big voice in aviation. Just go back to the wars. Kiwi pilots, Second World War were a big thing. Because they fought with the Canadians mostly.
It's a good training ground. We've got hills, we've got wind. Wind's not a problem in a lot of countries, but it's good to learn here. And cloud, snow, it's got everything.
It is an area of majestic snow-capped mountains overlooking spectacular fjords.
It's just the best training ground there is.
So Kiwis have always been pilots, and I think it will remain that way. You just go look at these kids growing up. They're here. They're looking at these aircraft, Where you go in a lot of countries now and they don't even turn their head to look at an airplane.
A lot of the early pilots weren't really hunters, but when the shooters started becoming pilots and flying, they knew the whole going backwards.
Say you lost a shooter in the day. You go back in and there'd be guys at your desk, waiting, hey, can you hire me? And one of them is Bill Hales, right here.
I was a shooter. And the downside of that was you can't fly.
When he was a young kid, he came into my office down in Timaru and he wanted a job as a shooter on a helicopter. But here he is now, he's got his own helicopter, and he's a very good pilot.
To work with a guy like Mel Kane, who put the first 500 into the country, and Mel is just one of those guys you get on with. Fantastic time.
He would be one of the top pilots that I've ever come across because he had a great teacher. He had a great teacher.
This guy here today, Robin Taylor, he came to work with me when he was 20. He's now 70. He was a really good shooter for us, yeah. And lots of people here who loaded for me, worked with me, and they turned into some of the best pilots around too.
I started in a C model, shooting in a C model in the South Island, and I had my pilot licence then, and I was obviously wanted to change seats to become a pilot. And I achieved that with Alpine Helicopters, and the rest is history.
So yeah, it was the I think they called it we were the cowboys of the skies. Regulatory world, they were having trouble keeping up with us, so we kept ahead of them.
we ended up with multi-shot skid guns on the helicopters, and then in the late 90s we took it over to America and we put them on machines over there, and they just thought we were just absolutely crazy. You'd fire a net out of a flying helicopter. But we managed to get 6 approved before they stopped us doing it. But that was all good. Good too over there, working, fixing, catching wolves and bears and all sorts of critters. It was another dimension to the Great Kiwi adventure.
You'd never get away with it today, of course.
This piece here, there's this chain drive here. That was designed. It's got it's off of one of the kids' mountains, Mike. Yes, it's got. It shot back, and then when it fired, this thing would. It had a bungee cord.
Yeah, they were on.
They go onto here. A spear
gun. They were on here, weren't they?
Yeah, spear gun. Bungee cord goes.
Here, was it?
Yeah, it went from here around there and back again. To it, one on either side. So to stop it coming back with a hell of a shock, this has got it's the freewheel unit out of the bike. Yep. So going one way, it's spinning without any resistance, but then it's got some nylon brake pads there, and it slows it coming forward again. Yeah. But that hanging off the hanger, front of the hanger, you can hang onto that end and fire it, and there's no shock, it just sort of pushed you back. Because we were concerned about tearing the belly out of the thing. Yeah. But eventually, we found it was unnecessary. But,
so what year do you think you made this one?
Yes, I think this looks like one of the originals, yeah. So there was a solenoid in here, and it used a shotgun cartridge, cut down. Yep. And being electric solenoid, you just press the trigger and bang, away it went.
Okay, every helicopter in the world has a limit. You can take it out, you can do this with it and that with it. If you carry it any past that, you have a problem. Where the Hughes 500s don't have that problem. The helicopter can do it, but the pilots can't.
Well, we put the machine through some pretty rigorous configurations, if you like, to catch these deer.
We all had a lot of fun and worked the machines to their limit, and the machines worked us to our bloody limits too at times.
House in the summertime, we have maybe 100 little tiny birds. And they fly backwards up, they can do anything, those little birds. And I watched them, and I thought, God, it'd be neat if we could do that. And I thought, I'm going to try that. So I took the 500 out, and I went a little bit high to get it, and within 5 or 6 deals, I had it. And I thought, that is so fantastic. But it was a thing I can't use because I scare the hell out of anybody that I had with me, knowing that you can learn something tomorrow on that helicopter. Where the rest of them, you fly and you go the limits of the helicopter and that's it. 500 has, I don't think if 500's got a limit.
I started with an old guy who's deceased. He had a wire. His name was Baden Gifford in 1978. And it was the start of the life capture era. The first week I was on the machine, the shooter, he handed his notice in and he said, it's all yours. I was thrown in the deep end. I had a very, very quick learning curve. And it was a great time. Great time.
Going over the States, what was it like flying over there?
Oh, it was magic. Yeah, a lot of high altitude stuff there, and different animals, elk and moose and bears and wolves. And, yeah.
So how do you catch them? How do they jump on them?
Well, you use a net, same. You get out very quickly, and you tie them up and transport them A to B. You couldn't transport the big animals. We put radio collars and ear tags in those. Yeah, nothing commercial over there. It was all to do with the wildlife people,
We're doing a job with Land and Survey up on the west coast, and it was drizzling, low cloud, and I was trying to pick these guys up off a fallen log on the top of a hill. And the young guy reached out, and the spark reached out at the same time and got him, and he fell off with his pack. His mates picked him up, tried to push him back in the helicopter, and he didn't want to go. He was trying to push back, and I just got the giggles. I had to go away and settle down a bit. Couldn't see for laughing.
Flew police for quite a while up there. That was good fun. Best thing I ever did there was to fly under the harbour bridge. The police guy said, "You can do what you like, Clark." He said, we're the police, we can do what we like. And I said, "Well, can I go under the harbour bridge?" He said, "You will pretend we're looking for a body."
I went to go from Tekapo over the top to the coast where there's good weather there, and ended up at 16,500 feet. We had the doors off, and it was 29 below, so that was pretty lucky there. But you know, you just learn by little things like that. And
did you get down in a hurry once it was spotty because it was so cold up there? You got
oh well, you know, I just started to get hypoxia because you know it was up so high and so cold.
Coming back to this thing here, that's the only one that actually let me down one day. Yeah, we're just coming back from a hunt, and we'd done just over 2 hours, 2 hours 10, 2 hours 15, which is, you know, so the fuel gauge was starting to get pretty low. And we're just coming over the top of the hills and sort of going into the Galatea Plains, which was only about 2 miles away from our landing pad. And this thing did a bit of a hunt, you know, and as a sort of a high-air pilot, you know that it's not a good thing. Anyway, it picked up again, we carried on, and about a mile from our pad where we normally landed from Peter Bradley's place, this thing just cut out, just dead. And of course we were at about 200 feet, doing 120, 125 knots, just flat out, and not a good position to be in. So I spotted a bit of a paddock out to my left, hard left. So I started to turn towards that. And then you go, oh shit, there's 2 sets of power lines. So the first set was very close and we're pretty low. So I couldn't even flare it a lot, otherwise I would have dragged the tail through the first set of power lines. So I flared it a little bit, and then a big dive to go onto the second lot of power lines. And then we're on the ground skidding on high skids. It was like a rocking horse, you know. It's just, and we would have skidded, I don't know, a good maybe 100, 200 yards. It's just, and as we're going, this creek is coming closer and closer on your eyes are all fixed on that. But in the meantime, everything's silent. That was the biggest thing, you know. It's an eerie feeling. Anyway, long story short, we pulled up before the creek, and we both sort of looked at each other and go, oh, we're down.
We had these, it was on a contract, we were doing like 600 hours a week, and back then we didn't have any, you look on the rotor blades, they've got a little shiny leading edge, and that stops the rain wearing them out, but we didn't have that then. So we were all excited because we'd end up working till 3 or 4 in the morning, changing the tapes on the blades on 10 helicopters, so that's 50 blades, we had 10 500s working. And we got these blades that had that stainless steel on them. We thought this was great, but we didn't realise that it changed the aerodynamics of the blades and made the controls jump up. So I was running them, trying to get it ready. Our first set, we were all excited about it in that machine there, and ran it up, and then everything was a bit shaky as it normally is. And then I just took my hand off the controls, which were all friction down, and the next minute, yeah, the controls jumped up, and I was looking at a guy up on the roof thinking, oh, I hope he doesn't fall off because he'll fall into my rotor blades, and next minute I was eyeballing him, next minute he was running out into space, and then and I was trying to work out where everybody looked little all of a sudden, and then came plummeting back down to earth and landed on one of my mates, and then pulled the controls back and then rolled end over end down the tarmac, and that was, the next thing I remember was complaining to the fireman who was cutting me out, saying don't wreck the helicopter.
Over the west coast working 5 or 6 years ago, the engine went quiet on us, and the biggest thing went through my mind was looking down where we were going to end up and thinking, shit, this is going to hurt. We had time to look, nowhere to go, and we went. But someone sitting on their shoulder, as Mel Kane always said, 99% luck, mate, and 99.9 was luck. We put that thing down sitting on top of a big rock, and the only thing we damaged, I broke the strobe light.
Yeah, I bit the dust a couple of times. Never mind, I got out of it.
How did that come about?
Well, one was a mechanical failure, another one was a rope got caught up in the helicopter and tipped us over.
What are you thinking when that's going on?
Well, I was pretty busy trying to save the helicopter, but it didn't work.
The 500 is just very iconic, and it's thanks to TV shows like Magnum PI, which a lot of people watched, including me, growing up, and it was always there. I did a photo shoot with Paradise Helicopters in Hawaii. They had a ex-Honolulu Police Department machine, which had been in Hawaii all its life. They repainted it, rebranded it. Darren and Tina from Apex Heli Support, their previous company, they rebuilt this thing, and we had TC, which was Roger E. Mosley, and Rick, who was Larry Minetti, come to the North Shore of Hawaii and be there for the launch of it. So I got to actually do air-to-air photo shoot with a Magnum PI machine with the two TV stars that used to actually be part of it and fly it in the movie, in the TV series. So that was pretty cool.
Sierra Delta, g'day there, and welcome. You can bypass the landing area actually and directly to the staging area position Delta, which is forward on the right hand side. You'll see a marshaller in a yellow vest there for you.
Yep, copy that, thanks.
In the 70s, there was funerals every month or two, like real good guys, you know, that you had a lot to do with, and when the weather was bad, you had a few beers, and young men, you know, in the late 20s and stuff, and then they're gone, you know, they've been killed, you know, and so there's a lot of tragedy we had from when I was about 27, 28 on, when I was into helicopters. You go to funerals every month or two.
It's really nice to have a positive event to be at, to see all our old friends and buddies from the flying days.
A toast to the guys who never come back. Also, I'd like to thank all the wives, girlfriends, who put up with all the blood on the door handles, the wash machines jammed up with deer here, and listened to all the stories that grew longer, heavier loads, flying and crap. And she said, I've heard it all before. So, everyone, enjoy yourself. Meet some guys you haven't seen for a long time. I've been walking around with a list of names. I don't know what's happened to you guys. You've all got old. I don't recognise you.
Oh God, I love this country. I just love this country. Yeah, and the people. I mean, it's so nice. I got people coming up, and they say, "You gave me my first helicopter ride," and I thought that's impossible. You're an older person, you know. But then somebody comes up and Mel, you're 90 years old, you know, and then. I think I'm supposed to realize that you're getting old when you're 90, and so we'll see how that works. But
it's doing pretty good for you.
Oh, I'm having a great time.
Yeah, it's impressive. Yeah, and I probably know 20% of the people here, all with grey hair and hearing aids, but not a magic day. Yeah, the boys have done extremely well to put this together.
When you see so many machines in this paddock, what's that like?
Well, that just shows you really how special they are.
Have you ever seen a gathering this big before?
Never.
I haven't seen this many helicopters in one place, let alone of the same brand. The closest I've ever seen to it is a few months ago we had a chance to visit the U.S. Army's 160th Division, who flies Little Birds, and they have less than what showed up here today.
Aside from, expos where you have OEMs and different manufacturers that all bring their aircraft, this is the biggest I've seen for one particular aircraft at one time, and it's just amazing what the team has done here to get this done.
No, I don't think there's ever been this many 500s in one place that I know of.
It's stunning, you know, like I don't think you'd see anything like this ever again in the world. This is just amazing, you know, and they're all in such fantastic condition, which is, you know, unbelievable.
I'm amazed. I didn't think there was this many machines left, but it's amazing. I mean, listen, behind you, they're still coming in. The pilots, I've been watching the pilots come in, and every pilot that came in made the right approach, right? Like they all had the same instructor, you know, the way they come in and make their approach and land. I thought, and they're, you know, and they're doing it right because they're doing it the way I do it. So, and I'm seeing paint jobs I've never seen before too, which is neat.
It's amazing. I've never seen this many 500. I haven't seen this many helicopters all at once.
For the flying we had here today, I'm just very, very grateful for all the guys that come out. It's a huge expense to fly from Auckland here, just to have a couple of beers, a feed, pay for your own motel, and then turn around and fly home. And today, it's a beautiful sunny day in there, but the guys going down Canterbury, down to Tiana, they're going to get their asses kicked all the way home. But as the guys said, it doesn't matter, we had a great night. And we did, we had a great night catching up.